Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Morning Download live stream on Wednesday, January 29th. Today's topic is talking about Bitcoin, countries and states proposing to buy Bitcoin. Before we get into that, let's talk a bit about NVIDIA and the tech sell-off. A couple of days ago, we covered DeepSeek and how it wreaked havoc in the market on Monday, and a lot of stocks were down. The tech stocks were down, especially NVIDIA, down 21%. And yesterday it recovered about 7%. NVIDIA is a widely held stock, so I think it's important to cover. Right as it was recovering, the Trump administration came out and said that because of DeepSeek and the Chinese AI competition that is heating up, the new Sputnik moment, as many are calling it, the U.S. may impose sanctions on chip makers, chip designers like NVIDIA, and restrict them from exporting chips to China. And as a result, NVIDIA's stock took another dive. It's down about 6% today. You can see here it opened about right here. The yellow means that it's going down. It's down about 6%. So it has had a rough week. If we look here, you can see on Monday it opened at about 142, and now it is at 121. So again, with NVIDIA, if you believe that the AI wars, which are just heating up, is going to need chips, and as it accelerates, we need more and more chips, then NVIDIA could still be a good long-term hold. There are many analysts and commentators that are saying that this is very overblown. The fear and the hype around DeepSeek is overblown, and it could be a good buying opportunity for NVIDIA. This isn't financial advice. I'm just some guy on the internet. So keep that in mind. I'm just presenting information. So in about an hour or so, the markets will close, and several companies are going to be reporting earnings, including Microsoft, Tesla, and Meta or Facebook. And we asked in this morning's poll in the newsletter, which of these do you expect to rally after today's earnings? You might be interested to read that before the market closes. And it looks like Microsoft is the winner of the poll, expected to rally after earnings and beat earnings. Tesla could come in underperforming because they didn't quite deliver all of the vehicles that they had promised. They're about 5,000 short, but their Megapack, the battery production, is just gangbusters, going off the charts, and I'll present some more information about that later after the earnings. But that is becoming a very large segment of their business, is the Megapacks, because energy is scarce. It's important. So companies need energy. They need a way to store the energy in the form of batteries, and Tesla has been cranking that up, and that is a major section of their business now, is the energy. Oh, and here's another chart showing NVIDIA down today almost 7%. Okay, so let's talk about Bitcoin. There are 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be produced. A little under 20 million have been made, and then the next million and a half will be made over the next 100 years. So it is a scarce asset, which is why the world is now waking up to the fact that in an inflationary environment, in an environment where money can be printed by central banks around the world, Bitcoin is the only one that cannot be printed, cannot be inflated. And which is why more and more countries and states are becoming more interested in Bitcoin, especially as the US is becoming more pro-crypto and promises to get a handle on the regulations and clarify the regulations, which is what everybody's been waiting for. Clarify the regulations around Bitcoin so we know, and crypto, we know what's going to happen. And as a result of the pro-crypto administration, now 15 or more states have come out publicly and said that they are not only looking into adding Bitcoin to their treasuries, but just today, the lieutenant governor of Texas said that adding Bitcoin to their treasury is a priority for the 2025 legislative session. So that is Texas. Utah, the great state of Utah, the House committee passes a bill for the state to invest in digital assets, and now advancing to the Senate for a vote. Utah is the first state to vote on it, and it is Utah is ahead of the other states and may become the first state to add Bitcoin to its treasury, and possibly other digital assets. Going down the line, Kentucky just out today. State representative said he'll be filing a bill to incorporate a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and he promises to fight to make Kentucky the crypto capital of the world. Everybody wants to be the crypto capital of the world now. Last week, Trump says he wants the United States to be the crypto capital of the world, and now states are coming out saying that they want to be the crypto capital of the world. So a lot has changed the last couple of months. During the last 4 years, with Operation Choke Point, the government U.S. government has tried to shut down Bitcoin and hinder it. And now everybody wants to become the Bitcoin capital of the world. Next, South Dakota, just today, plans to introduce a bill for a strategic Bitcoin reserve in the state. There are so many states now coming out saying that they want to add Bitcoin to the treasury. I can't keep track. Last I heard, it was 15. It might be up near around 20. And then Cynthia Lummis, the senator from Wyoming, says that the public hearings on the strategic Bitcoin reserve will be one of the first priorities. Of course, she was added to chair the Crypto Council and look into this. And she has been a long proponent of Bitcoin going back years. And now she is heading up the effort to add Bitcoin to the reserve of the United States. Of course, the U.S. has a lot of reserve assets. We've got oil assets and commodities, and now they're looking at gold, adding Bitcoin to those basket of assets and possibly selling some of the gold to buy Bitcoin. Breaking today, this was big news. The head of the Czech central bank wants to buy billions of euros in Bitcoin. So they have 146 billion in reserves, and he's suggesting adding 5% of the nation's 146 billion reserves into Bitcoin. So that's about $6 billion from the country of Czech Republic or Czechia. So we know that a lot of countries are already adding quietly without announcing, or are adding Bitcoin to their reserves or are mining it. Bhutan has a lot of Bitcoin, and about I think it's about half of their GDP they hold in Bitcoin. El Salvador has Bitcoin. China and Russia are suspected of owning Bitcoin or adding Bitcoin to their reserves. UAE is also suspected that they've been adding Bitcoin to their reserves. So a handful of companies around the world are adding Bitcoin or looking at adding Bitcoin to their treasuries. States in the US are now also doing the same thing. And many companies now, over 160 companies, are following the lead of companies like MicroStrategy that started in 2020, adding Bitcoin to their treasury. And the latest one today is a country called Nuve. They adopt Bitcoin for its treasury and payments. So this is a new thing that companies are starting to come out and add payments to their websites to be able to pay in crypto. Incidentally, one of the companies I work with, Zelix, you can buy anything on Amazon using Bitcoin or most cryptos. If you go to, if you want to buy something on Amazon but want to pay in crypto, you can go to Zelix. I'll leave a link down below, Zellix, and you can buy things on Amazon with crypto. So more and more companies are adding the ability to make payments in crypto, adding it to their treasury. So it is becoming mainstream. In fact, a report out shows that the global crypto ownership is over $500 million and will probably reach, by a lot of estimates, will reach 4 billion by 2030. So by the end of the decade, most people will own crypto and use crypto. So it is becoming mainstream. Now, what does this mean for us as individual investors? I know a lot of people on this channel are are retired or looking for retirement. And I've covered this before, that a lot of financial institutions are recommending that you add Bitcoin to your portfolio between 1 and 10%. BlackRock is a big advocate of adding 2%. Fidelity recommends adding 1 to 10%. This is a report from Morningstar from a couple of weeks ago that says adding up to 5% can be good for your portfolio, can boost the returns, increase the return with not increasing a lot of risk. You can see here in different kinds of portfolios, if you have a 60-40, the classic 60-40 portfolio, which is 60% equities and 40% bonds, which is a classic portfolio for retirements, that it can boost your return a little bit without adding to the Sharpe ratio. And then if you see here, 60-40 portfolio is the first line, and then 59-41 and 1 being Bitcoin, then your Sharpe ratio just goes up slightly, but your return goes up more than the Sharpe ratio. And then as you add more up to 50%, then the return goes up to, or 5%, excuse me, the return goes up to 8% goes from 5% to 8%. So you get a 3% bump with an increase in the Sharpe ratio of just 0.2. So if you believe a lot of those banks, and you believe what's happening with Bitcoin in the world right now, where states are adding Bitcoin, countries are adding it, or looking to add it, or have already added it, and corporations around the world are adding Bitcoin, and when they add Bitcoin to their treasuries, the stock goes up. MicroStrategy was the best performing stock on the public markets in the US. It doesn't get a lot of attention. Everybody has their eye focused on Nvidia and others, but MicroStrategy was the best performing stock, largely because they sold stock and bonds in their company, and they took all that money and they bought Bitcoin with it, and it boosted their returns. And the same thing we can do as individual investors. Not financial advice, but you can look at this report from Morningstar. I'll leave a link, or you can DM me if you don't find it. And you can see that it can boost your returns. So keep an eye on Bitcoin. It's going to be an exciting year for Bitcoin, as states and companies and countries are adding it to the treasury, and a lot of projections out saying that potentially Bitcoin could exceed $250,000 by the end of the year. So if you have any questions about this, or any comments about Bitcoin in your portfolio, or companies and countries adding Bitcoin, then let me know in the comments what you think about Bitcoin and what do you think is going to happen this year. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.